Thank you very much, Sherry, and good afternoon to all of you. I was absolutely delighted to be asked to chair this session, really to look at how you can support your employees with their financial health and well-being, because it is an absolute passion of mine, and it has been for many years. I work for Better With Money. We are an independent company, and our mission is to help employees really to understand their money day to day so that they can have better financial futures, and we'll be talking more about that as we go through the session. With me today to share their experiences and also their personal stories, and to hopefully have some time to answer your queries. First of all, we have Rowan Mahaswaran from Future Heads and Synced. They are a tech recruitment business, and they're on the smaller end with 100 employees. I also have the pleasure of introducing Nat Jutler, who's the Financial Wellbeing and Benefits Lead for the DEFRA Group. They're a collection of government agencies and departments that are working on environmental, food and rural issues. And by contrast to Rowan's company, they've got 37,000 employees and 17 payrolls. Yeah. So we really do have that contrast there of small and larger businesses, which will be great to hear. But before I speak to Rowan and Nat and ask them to share their stories and all the fantastic work that they've been involved with, I thought it might be a good starting point just to define what financial well-being is, because there's lots and lots of different ideas, and it really has become a buzzword that we're hearing more about. So let's look at that definition. Well, really, I think financial well-being is about feeling secure. It's about being in control of your money. And even when you're experiencing things, both expected and unexpected, you still stay financially on track. You know, there are lots of unexpected moments in life that we have to deal with, and being financially in control and resilient is what financial well-being is all about. So how is that linked to mental health, which is what we're really talking about here today? Now, there has been an abundance of research over the years by governments, by companies alike, that show that money is the biggest cause of stress for people. We did some of our own research last year, and we found that 1 in 2 people feel anxious about money every single day. And they recognised that that was having an impact both on their mental health, but also their work performance. They weren't able to concentrate in their daily tasks. Now, this is hardly surprising, because if we look at research from the Money and Pension Service, they've told us that 40% of people are struggling at the moment even to pay essential bills. And nearly half of us have less than £100 in savings. So when those unexpected things happen or costs start to rise, people start to lean towards credit cards, loans in order to cope. And as that debt mounts up, so does the stress, and people become less focused on the rest of the world that they have to live in, particularly at work. But financial well-being isn't as straightforward as just teaching people to budget or to manage their money day to day. There are far more complex issues at play here that you as employers will be seeing in your employee base. And I thought I'd just touch on just a couple of those to set that scene. Firstly, 15% of families are single parents, struggling to provide those costs for bringing up a child. I mean, the last figure I saw, it's just under £25 per day per child to bring up children. And you might have employees with caring responsibilities, not just children. I was chatting to somebody earlier. Lots of us are in that sandwich generation. We're also looking after parents. We might also be looking after relatives. And people are having to reduce work hours in order to cope with those caring responsibilities. We've actually got 5.9 million women in the UK workforce between the ages of 40 and 64 who might be experiencing menopausal symptoms. And we know through lots of research that means you can have a drop in confidence. So those women are far less likely to be going for promotions, and again, maybe going part-time to cope with the symptoms that they're experiencing. And the last one I want to touch on today is divorce. 1 in 3 marriages in the UK end in divorce, which can leave really large financial holes for people. So as you can see, it becomes all of our responsibility to help people through their financial struggles. So if we can empower people, give them the tools and the knowledge to help them to understand how to become financially resilient and to achieve that financial well-being, then you'll find you'll have more motivated, empowered and actually loyal employees. So that's setting the scene. I'd like to now hand over to our panel, and I'd like to start with you, Rowan, really to hear about your experience of the financial support that you've provided for your employees and how that's supporting their mental health.
Yeah, of course. I think for us, it's about kind of constantly evolving as a small business and trying to make sure that as someone who's been with the business for over 10 years, what we were doing then to what we're doing now is constantly changed and upgraded and has a different impact. I think the type of things that we look at doing which have a notable impact for our individuals with regards to their financial well-being are often the things that kind of go a bit under the radar. So, for example, we have a healthcare cash plan scheme which, rather than being very much allocated to set things, can allow people to accommodate across a range of areas that may suit them as an individual or their families or so on and so forth. So the obvious go-tos are dental and optical, but for a lot of people maybe kind of therapeutic or other things are much more important to them. So having the flexibility to balance what people can use within those services is really interesting. I think other things like, for example, a tech care scheme or tech advanced payment scheme, people forget that lump costs can occur at any time, and actually the penalisation if you don't have those savings in the bank can be quite heavy. So having something like a tech scheme, which also you can pay off kind of pre-tax coming out, is a notable saving over a period of time. Season ticket loans are very much kind of taken for granted. If you're commuting regularly, can you get the cost covered in advance? Can you pay it off in smaller sums pre-tax? Again, all benefits which have notable impacts, particularly when you have kind of the cost of living crisis or things coming into the equation where suddenly things spike quite quickly. It's about being able to adapt and evolve as a business, but not kind of change dramatically for something that might just suit in the short term. So I think as a small business, it would be fantastic if we could always offer pay rises whenever inflation increases or whatever happens in the market, but it's really about kind of not putting just a short-term plug on it. It's about kind of finding ways to be, I guess, creative, but in a way which kind of supports your business as well as the people within it. I think the link it has between financial and mental well-being is, as a person who runs a recruitment business, we need our consultants to be in a really good mindset to perform their jobs, and there's a lot of things to worry about. If they are stressing over finances, it has a real impact on the way that they'll perform in their businesses and their general satisfaction and happiness that they express to the people that they deal with. So there's a lot of factors that kind of cross over in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think you've picked up on a couple of things there. First is that need to really be flexible, particularly, if we look at the last few years, we've had COVID, we've had cost of living crisis, budgets are changing things all the time, and how does that impact on different things that you're doing for employees? But the bit I really liked there was about, as a smaller employee, arguably you have less resources available to you. It isn't about throwing money at different benefits. It's about thinking creatively to really support those employees. Is there anything that you'd just like to pick out that you did that was particularly creative?
Yeah, there's a few. I think we're fortunate. I mean, we're a B Corp as a business, which means we have access to a lot of the B Corp community, and they have a thing called the Beehive, which lots of businesses in the B Corp world can post about kind of stuff that we do. So you get a lot of input and kind of almost freebies of kind of stuff that you can get involved with. I think one of the things that worked most effectively for our business is we're a tech recruitment business. I got introduced to an AI-based platform, which effectively everyone will have probably experienced this in their life, is you sign up to a contract, whether it's your phone, whether it's your Wi-Fi, whether it's any other part of your household, and inevitably your contract expires. You then spend hours on the phone trying to renegotiate a new deal, or you forget when it expires and suddenly you want a larger package for more money. So this platform and tool basically allows you to put all your bills into it. At the point that anything is due to expire or due for renewal, you can set up kind of multiple savings, whether it's just change me to the cheapest plan, and it will automatically do that without you having to speak to anyone. It will give you a secondary option, which is show me the best options and then allow me to pick which one from there. Or it might just say flag it to me to allow me to do that. So I'm not going to shamelessly plug them in here, but it's definitely someone, if you are interested in talking to about, I'd be happy to introduce you to them, because it's making a notable difference. And we've seen across our business thousands of pounds being saved. Alone, I think I saved £400 on one of my bills alone from just changing. So I'm a big advocate.
I think all of us in the room could do with that. So, you know, if you could share it over, that would be fantastic. But, and I think as a tech company yourself, probably very apt that you're offering a benefit
Absolutely.
like that. Thank you very much. Now, Nat, I'd love to come to you. And I know, speaking to you before, you have a very personal experience about financial wellbeing and how that shaped the role that you're doing. So if you'd like to share.
So, yes, hello everyone. It was interesting to listen to Zoe talking about domestic violence being something that they wanted to revisit, because 10 years ago I left a domestic violent relationship with £6.50 and a 13-year-old, and I had nothing. No teaspoons, tea towels, literally just the clothes we walked out the door in. Excuse me. And we were very lucky that I found us somewhere to live, but we didn't have anything to put in it, so we were kind of sitting on garden chairs and borrowing and stealing from anywhere. And we didn't have a fridge. So for nearly 3 weeks till I got paid, it was April, it was a particularly cold April, the milk was outside the back door, and that's all we had. So when you were talking about the tech benefit, if we'd have had that then, I could have literally gone out and got myself some white goods that would have made, I mean, who can live without a fridge, right? You can live without a freezer, but a fridge is quite essential in the world we live in today. So I kind of changed my job all at the same time. I don't seem to do anything by half. So I had a brand new role working in the reward team in the Environment Agency, which is part of DEFRA Group. And the lady I was working for said, I want you to focus on the benefits. So I walked into EB Live, which is an event in London, all about benefits, and I knew nothing, literally about as much as my trainer. But I really noticed that Barclays were at the front talking about employee financial wellbeing. Now, for a lot of people, it's a new thing that's only been around for 5 minutes, but actually it's something I've been hugely passionate about for 10 years. And I made it a mission to bring that in for my colleagues in DEFRA Group, because I thought if I had had that, what a difference it would have made to my life. Now, although we are a large organisation, we are funded by the taxpayer, and therefore my budgets are extremely low. And I think it's really important to realise you can make real impact changes for your employees without spending, as you said, Sarah, a lot of money. So the first thing I did was harmonised all the benefits, so no matter which one of the 17 different payrolls you work for, we've got a brand, everyone knows where to go, and it's like a one-stop shop. So it links to our EAP and our intranet and everything else. But the core thing that our employees wanted, we asked them what they wanted, and they wanted to make their money go further. So the biggest benefit that we promoted was the discounts. So I don't know how many of you have access to a discount portal, but if you say to one of your employees you need to do that, it's 4% in Tesco's, they're going to look at you and go, why? I don't want the faff, I don't want to get my phone out and buy the voucher and do this and do that. However, if you say to those employees, if you use it every time you go to Tesco's, you're going to get nearly 3 weeks free food shopping. It has a whole different spin on it. And so we've really focused on making it easy to use, getting a platform that's got an app on it, making sure we've got that tech benefit that you were talking about, and trying to increase our the money that goes in our employees' pockets. And I personally have saved nearly £750 in 2 years, because every time I go in a shop now, I'm there with my phone. Can I use it? Can I use it? You know, and when I don't, I get actually really quite cross with myself. But we've really changed the behaviours in DEFRA Group, because when we first put it in, our previous provider, where it's £824,000 a year was being spent by our employees. Within 6 months of the new platform, we were spending £750,000 a month. And a year later, it was up to £1 million a month. And that stayed there. So it's still being spent every month. And actually, I was looking at the numbers from our provider, and we've only got about 35% of our workforce regularly using it and opted in. You know, we have a 95% active user rate, but they don't necessarily go in and use it as a regular percentage. So I think for me, that's the big thing we brought in. It was really important for me that I could everyone could learn something from the experience that I had. It did affect my mental health. I had a whole year off work, and that affected my financial well-being as well. I was a single parent, you know. I'd like to say, for the nice side of the story, I now live in a beautiful 2-bedroom new build. My son's 24 and doesn't live at home, and he's really good with his money. It's been a very happy ending for me, and I get to come and do events like this and be invited by Zoe. But I think the key to it is ask your employees what they want. Because even if you're getting a challenge from your leadership that you don't have the budget to do it, your employee voice is more valuable than anything you can do. And also then you get to do, you told us, we listened, here you are. And so now our employees are actually saying, we want this and we'd like that. And we've got a Viva Engage page so they all talk to each other. And if somebody goes and says, oh, I didn't really rate that, suddenly everybody else is answering the questions for us. So that's our success story, you know, and it's only really changed in 4 years. And the reason I've changed the agenda around, thanks Zoe, is because this afternoon or this evening we're going to an event where we've been nominated for 3 awards for employee engagement. So I just would say, you know, if you listen to what your people want and you can deliver that, focus your budgets on what they want and give perhaps a platinum solution for that. And then for the other things, how I manage our budget, which is pretty much nil, is that I make sure that our employees, the things that aren't so important to them, don't have as much focus. And I think that's how you can do something, you know. So it's all about mental health, but rightly what you said, an engaged employee will stay with you, you know. I mean, honestly, I've got people who are like, yeah, you did so much for me in DEFRA, I'm not going anywhere. You know, so I think that's the key.
And I think a big point you picked up on there is about asking employees, because actually I think the first lesson is never assume.
Yes.
Just because somebody earns more money doesn't mean they're not having financial difficulties.
Absolutely.
Often the more we earn, the more we spend. I'd just like to ask both of you, you know, sometimes we come across companies who almost tick the box, oh, I've done a webinar on something financial for employees, and really what we're talking about here is getting it as part of the culture. Yeah. So what can businesses do to kind of maintain that engagement with financial well-being and make sure it's not just like a sticking plaster?
I think for me the most important thing is to be able to have an open conversation. I think for someone who runs a recruitment business, and I think the younger generation are probably more open about this right now, but typically being British a lot of the time in scenarios, talking about money and talking about problems is not the kind of is very faux pas. So actually I think in a recruitment business, you often see people, the solution being to walk as opposed to tackle the problem with their employer. So I think being able to run an environment where things like financial well-being are open forums to have discussions on, and people's line managers are geared up to be able to have a conversation. You might not have the solution immediately, but being able to have that as part of how you operate your business, I think creates the environment, one, to solve the problem yourself, or at least have the opportunity to do so, and then B, makes it an ongoing kind of part of how you work. And if the world evolves in a positive way and the economies move in a nice way over the next 6 months, 12 months, or whatever it is, then you don't want it to be a short-term kind of stopgap in a lot of places. I think you want it to be an ongoing kind of need that's looked after, like a lot of other needs.
Absolutely.
So for us, we just continually talk about it. So we've just done a November comms piece, which is literally talking about, it was Talk Money Week. We've also had a part of that where we talk about, make sure you look at Black Friday, look at what the deals are coming out. Tesco's went up to 5% last week. And we just try to theme it. And also our platform, we've revamped it only earlier this year. The team really hated me for that one, but we moved everything around and we made it really simple to use. It's 3 clicks to get anywhere. And I created a tile which is was around the cost of living. I can't remember the name that we gave it now, but basically it's there if you need help. So there's a section for if you need help now, so you can reach out to Step Change or the National Debt Line, or, you know, even like our EAP. And then there's other bits that help you out, so that, because like you said, no one wants to talk about it. I want to get to the point where everyone's talking about it, you know. And I think it's getting easier, but it still is more taboo to say, I don't have any money and can you help me, than I've got mental health issues, can you help me? And we need to bring the two together, genuinely, I think.
Yeah, and I think what's really nice from what I've heard today is it doesn't actually matter the size of your company.
No.
There are ways that you can support employees with their mental health and financial well-being. Do we have time?
We overran.
We had lots to say. Thank you very much. If you do have any questions, I'm sure afterwards we'll all be around. Please come and find us.
I won't be, but my LinkedIn is really easy to find. I'm the only Natalie Jutler on there. So if anybody's got any questions or they want to know anything, please feel free to message me on there on Connect, and I'll happily answer any questions, Zoe.
Absolutely, and that's brilliant of you. Thank you so much. What a great way, such a powerful session for us to think about to start off the conference. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.